Good morning to everybody. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's of course an honor to be able to address you all here today, although I think many of us over the last few months have come to redefine what it means to be here. But I'm, in any case, very happy to be with you, at least virtually today. The title of my remarks today is 2 years of digital transformation. Now, this is, of course, a reference to something that our CEO, Satya Nadella, said now quite a few weeks ago, even a couple of months ago. And he was referring, of course, to the impact that he'd seen of the coronavirus on individuals, companies, and even entire countries. I can honestly say that I can see many of the same trends and things in Hungary that he sees on a worldwide scale. I can see clearly that the coronavirus has sped up and accelerated thinking about digital transformation. During the COVID crisis, there are a few questions that keep coming up whenever I speak to either customers or partners or employees. Maybe the most frequent is that, Chris, when do you think we're going to get back to the régi kerékvágás? My answer, of course, is that we actually won't. We will find a new normal, and I'm quite optimistic about the role that technology will play in achieving that new normal, but the new normal will not be the old normal. Technology will speed up a number of trends we'd already been observing, and it will certainly help make a lot of things better in society or for companies or for individuals. The trend to digitalization is definitely going to speed up. We are seeing it already. It's speeding up wherever we look. One observation I've consistently heard from customers is that the things that they've been planning, big IT projects, big transformation projects, the things that they've been planning to take place over the course of months or years, they were suddenly forced by circumstances around the coronavirus. They were forced to execute on these projects and visions in weeks or sometimes even days. This surprised many, but what also surprised many of these companies is that it worked. Is that the quick actions they had to take and the digital transformation they had to undertake in a very limited period of time actually worked. And I think at this point, one of the first things we can see is that many companies will now have a very much more compressed timeline in their heads when they are thinking about how long a digital transformation project will take, or several digital transformation projects will take. Hence, 2 years of digitalization in 2 months. Now, from my industry's point of view, the last few months or so have meant several small steps for individuals and bigger steps, giant leaps for whole companies and entire economies, including the Hungarian economy. Now, the mantra we've been reciting to the world, to small businesses, big enterprises alike, it was put to a test, and I think I can say that this mantra was found true. The mantra is that digital transformation makes a company or an economy more resilient and even crisis-proof. The cornerstone of any sort of digitalization effort is certainly it starts with mobilization, but it also involves the extensive use of cloud. Now, I don't think there could be a better illustration in practice of the advantages of cloud than the scalability that we saw in action during the coronavirus. The ability to scale up your demands for infrastructure very, very quickly, or scale them down in some cases, or the lack of an opportunity to invest in local infrastructure in such a short time frame, but also the ability to access data remotely. All these are benefits that the cloud brings, and I think it showed that the ability of cloud to help companies and all entities respond quickly to an unexpected, dramatic black swan kind of event like coronavirus. Again, I don't think there could have been a better illustration. Shutdown and lockdown policies forced even the most mistrustful users, whether they're individuals, economic operators, government agencies, education or healthcare institutions, it thus forced these entities to revise their strategies around IT. And it forced them to create the right, or at least the sufficient conditions for remote collaboration, remote access to documents and data necessary to perform the jobs, and the conditions for working from home, such as some of us are still doing. At this point, I'd like to quote one of my favorite memes that I've seen over the last several months. The meme is many of you have almost certainly seen this. It's in the form of a poll that you see. And the poll question is, who led the digital transformation of your company? A, the CEO, B, the CIO or the CTO, or C, COVID-19. I think that is certainly an overstatement, but there's also definitely an element of truth here. Naturally, the roughly 2 months or several months spent in strict quarantine has not been enough for all businesses to completely catch up on digitalization, but it was more than enough, not just to make them understand the benefits of digital transformation, but also to launch and speed up that process now within their organizations. During shutdown or lockdown, SMBs and big enterprises, they certainly purchased a lot more mobile devices, a lot more laptops and PCs, and they deployed collaboration apps and tools in unprecedented quantities and at an unprecedented speed. All this can indeed result in a fast-track digitalization if companies that acted in accordance with their long-term interests in a state of emergency will keep doing so when they're not forced by these circumstances anymore. I think for companies that want to survive, but actually to thrive in a post-COVID environment, future-proof organizations will apply what they've learned in this period to the time after the crisis is over. And I believe the same goes for governments and public administration, especially in healthcare and education. The giant leap I mentioned earlier in these areas were undeniably triggered by the pandemic and the restrictions in its wake. Teachers and students both acknowledge that the remote learning regime that their elementary schools or high schools or universities had to switch to literally almost overnight brought years worth of development of skills and practice. Microsoft Hungary is proud to have been part of this accelerated transformation. The pandemic and economic consequences of these restrictive measures pushed lots of businesses to the brink and unfortunately left tens of thousands of people unemployed. But the last couple of months proved very clearly that digital transformation can not only mitigate the effects of a crisis, but it's the key to a more interconnected and thus more resilient and agile economy. The crisis showed clearly that businesses and organizations who have an effective digital transformation in place, who have an e-commerce presence, who have the ability to go online, they've been able to respond and not just survive, but even thrive during this crisis. And while those who did not have such a transformation strategy in place, unfortunately, the businesses like this suffered the most during this crisis. The more interconnected and more agile and resilient a society is, the more immunized society is as well. A couple of weeks ago, Microsoft held its annual global conference, the Build Conference. As most gatherings these days, including this one, it was conducted digitally as well. Our CEO at the time separated a response to the pandemic into 3 distinct phases. One is the response phase, which we're still in right now. Phase 2 is recovery, and phase 3 is one that we still have to hear more about, and that is the reimagine phase. Let's have a look at these one by one. The response phase, as part of the Microsoft family, I'm proud to tell you that our company was a digital first responder to all other first responders, whether they be healthcare professionals, teachers, social workers, police, or nonprofits, and so on. On behalf of the Hungarian division, I'm especially proud that Microsoft was one of the first responders here in Hungary as well. In healthcare, computing is a major factor of success in COVID-19 vaccine research. Microsoft Hungary supports a research team with about 25 years of vaccine development experience for HIV, allergy, and cancer indications. Researchers are already using deep neural networks on our Azure platform to analyze vast amounts of variants in both virus strains and the immune system to spot opportunities to develop vaccination quicker against COVID-19. The pandemic situation also requires much more precise execution of tasks in the healthcare center. The Central Healthcare Agency, the IAK, asked us for a task management solution they can use to delegate tasks and do more effective project management. Our Power Apps innovation came into the picture, and we built a custom application very, very quickly using our Power BI platform, which they were able to use very, very quickly. This project is very successful, and they've been using this since in the task management solutions. The BKK is responsible for planning the public transport timetable, among other things. This became quite challenging during the coronavirus because obviously the virus brought very different patterns of usage of the public transport network, and planning for this was not actually possible using the previously made timetables. BKK used our technology to be able to develop a newer system and a newer timetable system to be able to more quickly react to rapid changes in the number of passengers. In this challenge, we're working not just alone, but together with a number of our ISP partners, our ISV partners, to offer solutions here. Educational versions of Teams and OneNote we've been providing for free, and people have been learning how to use that in a lot quicker ways than they ever thought possible. By now, 175 countries and 183 institutions worldwide are using Microsoft Teams as a remote learning environment worldwide. By the way, the number of Teams users worldwide is now approaching 100 million. Together with the government's Digital Education and Methodology Center, we also have given online lectures to some 280 teachers on Office, including Teams, to help them prepare for the digital education environment post-COVID. In close cooperation with Corvinus University and Budapest Business School, we've also helped not only to build the remote learning capability, but also customize it to the unique needs of these institutions, either it be streaming of live lectures, sharing audiovisual content, or collaborating in teams. It was inspiring to experience that with joint efforts, we could come up with a well-functioning, effective remote education environment and processes included in less than a week. Regarding healthcare, we work at a supranational level, developing solutions that are easily adaptable to local needs and characteristics. Without trying to give an exhaustive list, our Power App team has created a hospital lean emergency response solution for tracking beds, staff, supplies, cases, etc. in near real time. And this is, of course, an issue that's been dominating public discourse in Hungary as well. We've developed an app to track the spread of COVID-19, built on Azure, Microsoft's cloud platform. This allows governments to contact persons who have been in contact with someone who has tested positive, allowing them to take precautionary measures. The app is, of course, voluntary, and personal data is securely encrypted. We've also developed, I think one of the more interesting things we've developed is a bot service that helps healthcare organizations respond to inquiries, provide guidelines to people in need, and answer questions with up-to-date information. These bots have served 200 million messages to 22 million people across 20 countries. In Hungary, there's an intriguing and very interesting use of this, plasma therapy. Plasma therapy is based on the use of antibodies produced in the blood of those who have already recovered from the disease. This is considered one of the most promising cures before we actually have worldwide a vaccine. The hírérték here in Hungary is that Microsoft, together with the world's leading plasma companies, has launched the so-called Plasma Bot. This is a self-screening tool that recovered patients can use to see if they qualify to donate their plasma at licensed plasma collection centers. Let me just move on very quickly to our recovery phase. Recovery starts with people having jobs. We provide 6 months free access to business versions of Office 365. And let me point out once again, this is not only just an emergency aid, this is a tool to prepare for the future, to catch up with digital transformation, and ultimately to fill in the competitiveness gap. I will just end with one very interesting local example that we have of how we're helping Hungary prepare for a more competitive future. We are working together with Linistry, a Hungarian ISV startup. that uses our cloud platform and our computing capability to bring their concept to life. And we are working together with them to find a way to eliminate the problems of traditional queuing, or simply waiting in queues. Now, the problem of queuing is not a new issue. This is something of interest to us at all times in life, but this has taken on an increased importance during the crisis, and I think it will remain so. This is going to be a part of the new normal, how we handle queuing and social distancing. The Hungarian digital queuing app can reserve customer spot in queues on a location and allow people to turn wait time into active time, enjoy other meaningful activities, and obviously help in managing social and physical distancing in the future as well. I would simply end by reminding us that while I do not believe that we will get back to the old normal, I think the new normal will be a period where we accelerate much of the transformation and innovation that we've seen before the crisis. And I think it will be a period where the importance of trust, both of trustworthy technology and reliable information, will be growing. I simply want to emphasize that Microsoft puts incredibly emphatic importance on trust and the role of security and how we handle customers' personal data. This is a trend that's likely to take on added importance as telemedicine and teleworking starts to play a greater role in our lives in the future after COVID. So respond, recover, and reimagine. This is what the world and country will need as we go into life after the pandemic. Microsoft, both the global brand and our local presence, we're here to help at all three of these stages. Our mission is indeed to help every person and every organization on this planet and in this country to achieve more. Thank you for your attention.